What is up, guys, and welcome to another daily market outlooks. We're back with the market outlooks and with the Discord server, so make sure to join, links in the description down below. And from today and Monday onwards, we're going to be doing the daily market analysis once again on the major dollar pairs and gold. So hope you guys enjoy. If you have any questions, just make sure to let me know in the description or of course in the Discord server, and make sure to leave a like and subscribe. So with that said, let's dive straight in. So starting off as per usual, like in the good old days, dollar index. So dollar index is currently moving back up slightly on the 4-hour. Here I have the daily lined out for you, just showcasing where the supply and demand zones lie. So of course we had pretty much this buy before the big sell-off in towards the downside, acting as supply. Price came in towards that area of supply, kind of consolidated inside of there before heading back down lower. So at the moment we had, or back then we had pretty much like this structural high over here from where we saw it pushing towards the downside. So this is pretty much a structural high that got taken out by this demand zone, but we barely even reacted to that demand zone. So this is no demand anymore, and pretty much the only area of fresh demand that we have is this zone over here. So as we can see, I was waiting for pretty much the dollar index to move in there before moving out, and I was taking this into consideration with the other dollar pairs that I was trading. However, we didn't pretty much move in towards there. So what am I expecting next? Well, looking at the 4-hour, because on the daily I would like us to see price move in towards there, or the index move in towards there, but on the 4-hour what I'm looking for is potentially some further downside from this area of supply or this area of supply, and we could potentially also move up higher in towards pretty much this region over here of the index, and then for example sell off one more time. Of course it would be preferable to sell off from this area of supply, however price is imperfect. Also we did not see any liquidation in that move down, so therefore it's not really favorable to see a push in towards the downside from here. So just keep that in mind when we kind of like see areas of supply and demand. You always want to see liquidation occur right below that area of supply or demand, because otherwise the probability of price moving down in towards the downside is a lot lower. So as we can see, we've now broken this area of supply, meaning that it is very likely that price will move up higher, at least in towards this area of price over here at around 103.014. So that is pretty much the next price or index level that I'm looking for on the dollar index, and I will take it into consideration when trading all the other major dollar pairs. So with that said, let's head over to Aussie dollar and Aussie dollar. So Aussie dollar, just quickly from a daily perspective, we have got an area of supply and demand. Supply located over here from where we saw pretty much that push in towards the downside. Demand and only fresh area of demand is located over here at around 0.66376. So at the moment waiting for price to reach that zone before looking for any potential longs. Looking at the daily structure, we have a swing structure that is bearish, looking for further downside. However, if we just look at the internal structure, because once structure becomes, let's say, this big, it's kind of hard to keep an eye on this the entire time. So what I preferably focus on is looking at the internal structure. And from an internal structure perspective, we can pretty much say, of course, is that we saw a break of structure on this high. This was pretty much the high that broke this low, pushing towards the downside, then of course a pullback, but really didn't see any kind of like reaction, and this was mainly due to the fact that we tapped in towards weekly demand. Just showcasing it over here, this was your area of weekly demand, not the strongest area, but it did provide a very decent reaction. Move back up in towards weekly supply. However, both this demand zone and this supply zone didn't really achieve anything significant. Of course, for example, this demand zone where we saw this big bullish reaction from in towards the upside, that is very significant. Why? Because it pretty much took out this structural high, and all of these highs over here as well, and they pretty much initiated that V-shaped reaction. The only good thing that I like about this area of weekly demand, and why I could kind of like see this daily area of demand and the 4-hour area of demand kind of play out and see price push up higher despite the weekly and the daily on swing structure being bearish, is the fact that it also initiated a V-shaped reaction. Again, this also created a V-shaped reaction, so I would be happy to look for some potential longs with the internal structure being bullish, and of course this demand zone initiating that V-shaped reaction. So we do have this bearish candle over here, however not a big fan of it or using it as demand, so I'm just focusing really on this area of demand over here. So that is it pretty much from a daily perspective. Look at the 4 hour, just waiting for price to move down lower in towards downside before looking for any potential longs. So not looking for any longs from here. We could look for potential one more short, not from this zone, because again, no liquidation in that move down. So potentially we could move up even higher to, let's say, this area of demand before looking for further downside. So yeah, not the nicest price action, but that is that from Aussie dollar. Then euro dollar. So euro dollar looking at further downside at the moment. Looking at it from a daily perspective, not that much to say, to be honest. Daily is still bullish. If we look at the overall swing structure, what we can see is that we had a low, we had a high, we had a low, we had another high created, pull back in towards the downside after pretty much forming this ascending channel over here. In towards downside, now pull back, and we could potentially see further downside. Pretty much the reason why we're just moving down is because of the fact that we've seen this overextend move in towards the upside. Looking at the 4 hour, because I like to focus on that. Last week I was looking for potential short from this 4 hour and daily area of supply in towards downside. However, what we really saw was that price was just pretty much consolidating and moving in this descending manner. Often what you'll see after a big push in towards the upside and then this descending corrective price action is that price will liquidate all of the people who are going short inside here one more time before really seeing that push down. So this could just kind of like be inefficiency in the market. Pick up the orders that lie inside of here, mainly being this area of demand over here, and then for example shooting up one more time, creating a new higher high, for example on the daily time frame, then kind of completing the overall pattern of a 1, 2, and then either second high fake out or third touch of the overall channel before, for example, selling off big time in towards the downside, and in line with the overall weekly swing structure. Because remember, the weekly is still bearish with this your high, this your low, kind of forming this 1, 2, and then third touch before selling off. So that's pretty much what I'm looking for on the weekly and from a daily perspective as well. So just keeping my eyes open for that. Now moving over in towards pound dollar. What I'm looking for on pound dollar is potential longs. Looking at the daily time frame, daily is still bullish. I'm waiting for price to reach this zone over here, pretty much this area of consolidation from where I expect price to move down once again. Looking at a potential pattern over here, so it's not strange that we're pulling back. One more push up and then, for example, a bigger sell-off in towards the downside, back down towards, let's say, this weekly area of demand, which initiated this V-shaped reaction. Looking at price from a 4 hour perspective at the moment, 4 hour is bullish. Wouldn't be surprised if we, for example, take out this low over here before seeing further upside. Overall, this is like your sell before the buy. Refine it down and you've got your demand zone located over here. So we could see one more sell-off in towards the downside before any potential further upside. That is it from pound dollar. Pretty much, so just keep an eye out on that, but of course we would need to see some confirmation. Now moving in towards Kiwi dollar, because I do like Kiwi dollar still, is what we can see. We have pretty much again this area of demand over here, which is still fresh, also part of kind of like that V-shaped reaction in towards the upside. This area of demand took out this daily zone which we have over here. So this is your takeout zone, so it's pretty strong, kind of like, initiated a big push in towards the upside, and it is still fresh. So I would still like to see one more push in towards the downside. Overall, of course, kind of like this bearish order flow that we're seeing with a push in towards the downside, pretty much like a pullback, and then like this ascending kind of corrective nature before further downside. So at the moment, what we're really seeing is that we're seeing a pullback, or we saw a pullback on Kiwi dollar back in towards like this buy before the big sell-off. This is a pretty strong area of supply. It took out this low and it took out this low, so I am a big fan of looking for further downside from here. Now refine it up, then this is of course your last buy candle before the big sell-off, so it's pretty nice and interesting to look for sells from. Now moving in towards the 4 hour, what I saw over there was some beautiful price action. So look, this is your supply zone, right? But from the supply zone, we do not have any liquidation in that move down. So what happens, the initial guys who take the shorts, they get liquidated once more over here, and then price really moves down. So after that occurred, we of course saw kind of like some reaction to this demand zone over here. Nothing really substantial because price was ready to drop down lower. Now what we saw was kind of like this impulse pull back in towards that 786 fib, in towards this area of supply, which initiated the downfall of Kiwi dollar, liquidation on the highs here as well, like these highs, and then we started selling off down lower. So for Kiwi dollar, I am looking for the downside, at least in towards the 0.27 fib, minus 27 fib, and back towards kind of like the 0.61 level before looking to trade a potential pullback once again, and then looking for example, additional shorts. So expecting further downside from Kiwi dollar. If we do pull back in towards the highs, we could look for one more shorting opportunity. Preferably, I would like to short from example this 15-minute zone over here, this 50-minute zone over here. These are kind of like the zones that I like to short from. Why? Because we have liquidation on this high, we have liquidation on this high. So that is pretty much what I'm looking for. I wouldn't really be a big fan of selling from this 50-minute zone like this buy before the big sell-off, unless we kind of like see some corrective nature, liquidation going on, early sellers on, for example, the support and resistance being stopped out, and then we can look for those shorts. So yeah, that's Kiwi dollar. Last of all, gold. What are we seeing on gold? So looking at it from a weekly perspective, there's not that much to say. We do have pretty much this area over here, this sell before the buy. So coming in there now, we could potentially see some further upside on gold again. Where does it happen? Well, then we have to look at the lower time frame. Looking at the lower time frame, we do have daily demand located over here, which took out this area of daily supply. So this area of daily supply provided some kind of reaction to price on gold. However, we just shot through it. So now we're in there. A lot of kind of like liquidity forming with all of these equal lows over here. A lot of people getting stopped out who were looking to long inside of kind of like this range. Now getting stopped out, so we could soon see a bullish reaction on gold, and that would be in line, of course, with a bearish dollar. On the 4 hour, I'm not really going to look at price, not that interesting, but looking at the dollar, of course, once the dollar reaches this area of supply, for example, we see that tank, then we could see a gold rise. So yeah, for example, just look at those 4 hour and daily zones on gold. So that's it for today's market outlook. On Monday, we're going to be doing another big market outlook. And of course, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Discord is active once again, so make sure to join. Thank you so much, guys. Please leave some love and leave a like underneath this video. Leave a comment as well if you have any questions, and we will be speaking very, very soon. Thanks, guys.